Welcome back to Louden, New Hampshire, where we are under our 7th caution of the day, and it came out just a few moments ago up in that spot of the track, turns 1 and 2. Smoke on the 64 car, Joe Bessie.
Well, we originally thought that Bessie had blown an engine mark, but he's still on the racetrack. He continued under power. Obviously, something came out of the car as he exited turn 2 with all that smoke going on. Jamie Obey came in behind him in the 41, hit the fluid on the racetrack, spun around, did not make contact with the wall, but it wasn't a terminal problem for Bessie. He's still on the track.
Tommy Houston, Kenny Wallace did come in under that yellow flag, as did car number 16, Stub Fadden, the veteran out of North Haverhill, New Hampshire. But most of the front runners decided not to come on to pit road. Stub Fadden, 58 years young. We say young now because everybody was trying to make Harry Gant old about 6 or 7 weeks ago at 51. We've certainly found out there's still a little life left in those bones.
The Herschel McGriff, if you will, of the northeastern stock car scene. The New Hampshire International Speedway. Now, this is the 4th combination race that they have run over a 2-year period. You get a good panorama effect of what the Speedway is really like from our Turn 1 camera. And here is a facility that has impressed absolutely everyone who has come here, including championship auto racing teams.
They certainly have, because IndyCar racing is coming to the New Hampshire International Speedway in 1992. They got a date that has been normally scheduled for Cleveland. And that date, the promoter, Roger Penske. And Roger Penske lost the date. The date came over here to New Hampshire. And so the Hampshire International Speedway will get a race in 1992, and that's great. This is a beautiful facility. I grew up about 50 miles from here, and it used to be the old Briar Motorsports Park, and it was nothing like we see today. They used to run a big motorcycle race here. That was what they were known for. It was one of the biggest motorcycle races in the entire country. It's got a legacy of about 70 years. But now that they've built this speedway, they're going to run motorcycles, IMSA, IndyCar racing, and hopefully someday they hope for a Winston Cup race.
And as we get ready to go back to green in one more lap, the Cleveland race, don't completely cancel it off of your plans for 1992. The Civic leaders from the city up there right on Lake Erie, which is where I grew up. I can't even remember the city's nickname right off hand here. I spent so many years.
That's part of Cleveland's problem.
Well, no, I don't
Nobody
think
can
so.
remember the nickname.
But it's run on the airport there right at the lakefront, and the Civic leaders from Cleveland promised to be out at the final kart race next weekend to try to do what they can to resurrect that date. In fact, there's a lot of talk right now about championship auto racing teams, whether it will exist in its present entity next year, as Tony George, the president of the International Motor Speedway and Kart, are apparently in discussions to restructure the IndyCar scene entirely for 1992.
Cleveland's a great sports town. They've got a lot of major league franchises, baseball and basketball, and so they certainly love to keep their major league auto racing.
And Cleveland's nickname is the best location in the nation. I knew I would remember it. Harry Gant is up to 5th, just like we talked early in the race. Handsome Harry quietly marching his way forward and has himself in a contending position as the green flag comes back out, and we are back to action with Robert Presley, the race leader.
Chuck Bound diving underneath Tracy Leslie just behind Robert Presley. And side by side, they're the 3rd cars in the picture as they make their way out of turn number 2. Bound and Leslie locked side by side, a battle for 2nd place. Everybody else basically single file. There they are, that great battle heading for turn number 3. Leslie holds on to the spot.
Good job by Leslie there. He didn't let Bound intimidate him at all. He stayed right up beside him coming off 2 all the way down the backstretch, dove into the corner ahead of him, took that position back from him.
And this is the best situation for Robert Presley up front, because the lapped car, the 51 car of Mike McLaughlin, as we get 75 laps to go. And did I detect a puff of smoke coming out of the pipes of Robert Presley?
He simply ran down low on the racetrack mark and hit a little bit of that speedy drive and just dusted up a little bit. No problems on the Presley car right now.
There is Tracy Leslie closing in on Mike McLaughlin. That is a lap car. Now, off the pace a bit is the 1 of Jeff Gordon. Right in front of him, the 0 of Dick McCabe. On the high side, the 18 car of Mike Rowe. Those are a couple of the drivers that are locked in the track championship battle, which will pay one of the drivers $10,000 at the end of this race. As you see, Gordon clearly off the pace now in that Carolina Ford dealer's Ford.
Apparently, he's lost a cylinder. If you go down one with a 6-cylinder, you've got yourself some major league problems. He falls in line there behind Tommy Houston.
And how much of a problem is that, Glenn? We know in a V8, you drop a cylinder, V8 engine, you lose some horsepower. What is the difference in loss of performance when you lose a cylinder in a V6 versus a V8?
Well, percentage-wise, it's a little bit greater because with only 6 cylinders, each cylinder has to work a little harder. So when you lose one of them, you are losing a bigger percentage of the power plant. So therefore, it's going to affect the 6-cylinder a little more.
Now, That's the 44, Bobby Labonte, who has been in the top 10 much of this race, along with Ricky Craven, who has been at the point for a good while, but has not had his car handling quite as well here since about lap number 125. Labonte down to the low side, trailing Kenny Wallace by 33 points in the battle for the Grand National Championship. That is the battle for 6th on the Speedway.
Bobby Labonte then is in the 7th spot. And a little farther back is Kenny Wallace, so it looks like he will pick up some points if things are to end this way. Kenny Wallace a little farther back. In the back, there's Bobby Labonte. Labonte has seen feast or famine at this racetrack. He was the first driver to christen this racetrack driving upside down in the first Grand National Series race when he flipped the car in turn 2, went up on his roof, and then yet he came back at the end of last year and finished 2nd in this race to Rick Mast and just drove brilliantly.
Now, Kenny Wallace has also had a star-crossed career here so far. He has won this race back here in July, but he also has finishes as we see him in the black number 36. He's had finishes no better than 25th in the other events. So here are a couple of drivers who ultimately feel this track owes them one, and this track has more than paid them back. Kenny Wallace 33 points up on Bobby Labonte in the Grand National title chase. This is the first race that we have seen between the two of them in the last 5 events where neither one of them has had significant mechanical problems.
They really haven't set the world on fire lately, and it seems like if Kenny Wallace has a problem first, then Bobby Labonte follows suit later on in the race, and vice versa as they flip the lead back and forth. But look at that great battle for the number 1 spot. 4 cars. Robert Presley on the point. Then it's Tracy Leslie, Chuck Bound, and there's Joe Nemechek, who's hung in there all day long. His car certainly running strong enough to maybe win this thing.
Oh, absolutely. Joe's got a strong car today.
179 laps are on the board. The top 4 cars are covered by 0.7 of a second. We've got a great finish coming up. Don't you dare go away.
Anything you can handle, we can handle. Yokohama High Performance Tires.
In America, your car doesn't just get you from here to there. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Texaco has developed Haviland Formula 3 motor oil. With not 1, but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. Haviland Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
The temperature never drops below 0x. That's important to remember at a time like this, when it's very dark and very cold. Ah, you did remember 0x antifreeze. The temperature never drops below 0x.
The morning belongs to Skin Bracer Aftershave. Its cool, brisk tingle really gets you going. And what a great scent. Skin Bracer.
As we return to the New Hampshire International Speedway, we are under our 8th caution of the afternoon for a 4-car incident that came this time at the turn 3 and 4 area of the Speedway. And there's one of the victims. Glenn?
All right, you see the car 98 on the bottom, car number 3 trying to lap him going into the turn, and Kelly Moore is hung out on the outside going by the car number 3, tries to go 3 abreast, just doesn't make it. He gets into car number 3, which is Tony Hirschman. Moore slides sideways. Hirschman turns around. Now watch what happens here. Dick McCabe in the green 0 does a great job of missing it. However, Ward Burton is slowing down, trying to miss him. He hits 3 as he comes down, and then boom, Micro and 18 comes along and clobbers him in the door. You see Kelly Moore in the black car sliding up the racetrack, incidental contact with the wall, but tremendous damage to Ward Burton. And Kenny Wallace, you see him just sneaking through there on the outside of the yellow car. He's the black car on the outside of 18 there. Great job of missing it all.
There's another angle. Again, car number 98 gets together with the 3. As the 3 moves up the track, he collects the 47. There's Dick McCabe. What a great job sneaking underneath. And Ward Burton just was wrong man, wrong time. And Mike Rowe getting in there. There's Steve Grissom getting by, and right behind Grissom, as Rowe's car starts up the racetrack, look at Kenny Wallace looking for an escape hatch, and he barely finds one.
Well, he did the right thing, Mark. He got the car slowed down to almost a crawl, so he knew that he could turn the car any way he wanted to. Then good heads-up piece of driving by Kenny Wallace.
And what a frightening decision he had to make. He either had to go into Mike Rowe, or if he turns to the right at that point, he's staring the wall in the face. So either way, it was sort of a no-win situation. A great piece of driving there. Now, there is the Ward Burton entry, the Gwaltney Buick. They are doing significant work to the front end, but you can see that the radiator is jammed in. Let's go down trackside to Bill Hennessy.
Well, Ward Burton got a initial observation of everything that was taking place out there. Ward, you don't seem to be too pleased. Well, what took place in front of you?
Just people driving like it's the last lap. I don't know, just not using the heads as usual, same old one.
We're going to try to get this car back in, or are we going to park it?
I don't think we're going to make it back out. The quality Big 8 Buick was going to have a good top 10 finish today, but same kind of junk every week.
See you next weekend on TNN at Rockingham.
Ward Burton may have a little frustration spilling over from last week, where he was the class of the field. He comes back this week, and this is racing, right? One week you're the hero, the next week you could be down there around 0 someplace. It's a tough place.
It doesn't take long for things like that to happen. And again, Ward was, certainly none of that was his fault.
Right.
And really, what triggered that incident was a lap car trying to pass another lap car, and another car going by that lap car at the same time. There just wasn't room for all 3 of them.
In my opinion, Ward Burton over the second half of the season has perhaps been the most improved driver. As you see him looking at his car now, he's been the most improved driver on the Grand National Series. He's really putting things together in that AG Dillard machine.
And the green flag comes back out. We are now in the closing stages of this event with Robert Presley up front, but there are 4 cars right behind him that are involved in a good chase. Tracy Leslie, 72. The 63 of Chuck Bound, 87 Joe Nemechek, and sitting back in the 5th position, Harry Gant.
As this battle continues on the racetrack, the odd thing is, to me, nobody chose to pit then. So evidently, everybody's showing their cards. They think that they got the stuff to go the rest of the way.
There's Joe Nemechek taking over 3rd from Chuck Bound. A good move as they dove into turn 3.
And they get single file for the most part in a big hurry around this track, coming back up to speed. They are tiptoeing around just a bit, as there is Nemechek going inside of the lap car, one of the lap cars on the track. Right behind him is Chuck Bound now. Behind him, Harry Gant. And if Harry Gant's going to start to make his move, if he has anything, this is about the time of the race that we expect it to happen.
There's Ricky Craven a little farther back in the pack with Jeff Burton right on his back bumper, trying to make their way to the front.
Craven gets into car number 96 with Tom Peck. They come together in the middle of the turn. Peck is up against the outside retaining wall. Caution flag is flying again. I saw Craven go into the turn. He was a little bit hot there. He got together. Tough break for Tom Peck.
We're under caution for the 9th time on lap 187.
You see Craven there. There's Peck hitting the wall. Boy, he hit that thing a lick. Craven in the 25, Peck in the blue, 96 on the outside. Ricky Craven had passed the car going into turn number 3, got in there a little bit hot. He got up into marbles and slid right up into Tom Peck.
It looked a very similar situation to what we saw in our last caution. Maybe too many cars going into the turn, 2 or 3 wide.
Well, when I watched him do it, Mark, I thought he had made it in there, but then unfortunately the contact came in the center of the corner that time.
And that's a tough break for Tom Peck, who came off a best finish last week in the season in Charlotte, a 5th place. He will not have a good finish here today, obviously. 188 laps are on the board. Robert Presley continues as your leader here in New Hampshire. I think that's exactly what happened.
The gutsy, hard-driving sound of Delbert McClinton on stage Tuesday on TNN.
Look fast, because the hands on this watch are about to disappear. Now, look again, and they're back. Why do these hands disappear? Because they're not really hands at all. They're actually electronic pulses of light. Introducing the amazing laser beam wristwatch. Destined to become a legend in its own time, we believe it will soon be one of the most sought-after watches in history. However, as part of a special publicity campaign, we will send you one of these amazing new laser beam luxury watches. Not for the hundreds of dollars you might expect, but for only $10. But to get your amazing laser beam wristwatch for only $10, you must act now. If you call within the next 30 minutes, you can order a second laser beam watch for only $5, just half price.
To order, call 1-800-238-9300. That number again is 1-800-238-9300.
Back here at the New Hampshire International Speedway, Ricky Craven, who was part of our 9th incident just a few moments ago, has come on to pit road for right side tires. He goes back on the speedway. After 190 laps, just 60 to go, here's the top 5. Robert Presley, Tracy Leslie, Chuck Bound, Joe Nemechek, and Harry Gant. And Harry Gant's crew is looking like they want to bring him onto pit road here in just a moment. We'll have to see if he comes in this time by.
Should mention that Nemechek and Bound have switched positions just after that lap 190 mark. So Nemechek currently 3rd, Bound 4th. There's Ed Whitaker on the left-hand side of the screen, the car owner for the Skoal Bandit car of Harry Gant. And those guys have been hot over the last 3 or 4 Grand National Series races. He came into the races we've documented looking for his 4th straight victory on this circuit.
And Harry Gant started 17th and has very quietly moved up through the field, sitting in the 5th position. They have decided not to make the pit stop. And Glenn, your thoughts as we're 1 lap from going back to green. Can Harry win this race based on what you have seen?
Well, right now, I don't think so. I don't think, this is the closest to the front that he has been, and it's because of heads-up track position they've worked on by not pitting and pitting at the proper time. Right now, it wasn't so much that they decided not to pit, is that the other guys didn't pit either, and so they can't put themselves that far behind the rest of the field. When nobody in front of Harry came in, he had to stay out too.
Still a number of cars on the lead lap. It would make life very difficult if you pitted and the other lead cars did not. It would make things just miserable for you over the last part of this race, trying to get back to the front without getting tore up.
Well, his car is probably equal to the cars that are running in front of him right now, but he's not as much quicker, or so much quicker that he can afford to take a gamble by pitting and coming back out.
That's Chris Carrier, Harry Gant's crew chief, looking on.
They have made their decision at this point not to pit. Let's see if it works as we go back to green. Robert Presley, the race leader, followed by Tracy Leslie, Joe Nemechek, Chuck Bound. Storming back into turn 1 once again, and that is a lap car, Mike McLaughlin. Just like happened last time, he steps right in between the leader and his closest pursuers as they come off of turn number 2. And now you can see right away, Tracy Leslie said, that's enough of that. Let's dispatch with him as Joe Nemechek comes with him. And they make a successful pass as now the Magic Shoes, as his nickname, yields the spot. And now look at Leslie drift up just a little bit high there. Looked like he had a little bit of problem negotiating it.
He ran up right behind Robert Presley. He went in the corner so well, he had to get out of the car, or out of the gas and on the binders. Presley's got a problem. Got a left front tire going down.
Tough break, and he spins Tracy Leslie. And we have caution on the speedway up in turn 1.
Leslie gets clobbered by Nemechek. Both of those cars got bad damage to them.
What a tough break for Joe Nemechek. It looked like he was getting set to take the lead. There's Robert Presley. That left front tire just shredded to pieces. We're under caution for the 10th time today. And Presley, with that tire brought it out, but Joe Nemechek paid bad price. So did Tracy Leslie. Just tough break for 2 young drivers looking for their first win.
Here's a look at it again, Glenn.
All right, you see Presley, the left front tire's going down. He couldn't turn the car. Leslie's on the outside. Presley gets into him, spins him. Look at Chuck Bound get by on the inside. Great move, but unfortunately, Tracy Leslie at 72 spins right up in the path of Joe Nemechek's going to take them both out of the race.
And that is one of the toughest breaks for Tracy Leslie, who was probably a foot from getting clear of that and having the race lead. Instead, his car is badly battered. Tough break for both of those young drivers. And Robert Presley, of course, has come to the attention of pit road to get new rubber.
You see Joe Nemechek slid across the racetrack and hit, it looks like an inside retaining wall. As Robert Presley comes back on pit road, Ricky Pearson and the crew going to work on that Alliance Oldsmobile.
And just like that, Harry Gant, as we look at Joe Nemechek, in fact, he's doing his own repair work there, and he can't be too happy by what he sees as there is fluid underneath the car. But Harry Gant, all of a sudden, vaults from 5th way up in the standings.
You can see the frustration that Joe Nemechek is experiencing right now. He looks under there, sees that damage. He threw something against the hood of the car. It's got to be frustrating. This is the best run that Joe's ever had. He was in position to, look, he's even going to help the guy hook the car up to the wrecker. He wants to get that thing back to the garage here and get it back out there.
Remember, he came into this race 4th in points, just ahead of Robert Presley and Chuck Bound. There's still a lot on the line as we come down to the end of the year. Joe Nemechek, he's smiling there, but he's certainly not smiling now. just drove a great race. I mean, what a disappointing end for him, because I thought he was in position to win this thing.
You saw the ambulance pull up there. Of course, that's mandatory anytime there is a crash on a track that NASCAR sanctioned event. But, you know, that ambulance is not going to do anything except maybe try to cool him down.
Well, that puts Chuck Bowen in the lead as we are under our 10th caution of the afternoon on lap number 194. Jeff Burton is sitting in second. Harry Gant is third as Robert Presley will come back to his pits. Stay with us.
When the job is tough, you need the best. And when you need the best, you reach for Channel Lock. For the power. The precision. For just plain counting on, there's only one. Channel Lock. Be sure you're getting genuine Channel Lock tools. Look for this trademark.
John, how you doing? You know, AutoZone customers are pretty special. I mean, they take great pains in doing a job just right. So they know exactly what they want. That's why we carry so many parts. And also why we price them so low every day of the week. Because you gotta admire a guy who'll tackle a job like putting in a starter, a water pump, a rack and pinion. And you gotta give a guy like that exactly what he wants. The right parts and the right price.
In our continuing search for the best of everything, our special segment today applies to all motorists. Straining to see through a rain-soaked windshield is no fun and can be unsafe, but there is a solution. It's called Rain-X, the invisible windshield wiper. It dramatically improves wet weather visibility. After my first application, I was a true believer. Water never slid off a duck's back quite so easily. If you want true performance from a product, go out and get your Rain-X today.
Available at Kmart.
There is a giant in the tire industry, a Goliath whose products have cast a shadow over the high-performance world for years. Meet David. Hoosier Performance Radials, 4 models to fit cars and light trucks like yours. So pick up a set and take on the world. Call 1-800-344-6849 for the dealer nearest you. Hoosier Performance Radials, as serious about tires as you are about cars.
53 laps left to go in this live coverage on TNN of the Chevy dealers of New England 250. Chuck Bowen did a great job in dodging that wreck. He is currently first. Jeff Burton must have done a good job because he jumps up into the second spot. Harry Gant is third, followed by Bobby Labonte and Ricky Craven to round out the top 5. Butch Miller is currently 6th, followed by Kenny Wallace, Joe Bessie, Jamie Obey, and Mike Rowe in the top 10. We mentioned the wreck. It just happened a few moments ago, and it took out 2 of the top running cars.
Well, it did, and again, it was the most unfortunate thing. But again, watch what happens going into the corner here. Presley down low, boom, gets up into Tracy Leslie, number 72, and pandemonium breaks loose after that. You see Chuck Bowen making the great move, also Harry Gant and Jeff Burton.
And boom, right there. And that is at regular speed. I mean, that's how quickly they have to make decisions. And when you're going 120 miles an hour, you know, people say, well, why couldn't you avoid that, Glenn? But the truth is, it's almost impossible in some cases.
Well, when they say it to Glenn, it was because I hit everything that stopped.
There's some great fans from New Jersey pointing out that they had traveled up here to New Hampshire today. 1 lap to go, and we will have, it looks now to be 53 laps to go to finish this race out. Chuck Bowen, who finished a runner-up at this racetrack back in July. He was 3rd last fall, looking to make an improvement up to the number 1 spot as they're pushing Steve Grissom behind pit wall. He was the last car to tag Tracy Leslie.
You know, and I got a feeling right now that Steve Grissom's saying, God, thank heavens this weekend's finally over. I don't have to go back out there and look for anything else that happened to me today. I can park now.
He'll wake up Monday morning. That was all a bad dream. It was all a bad dream. Yellow flag is being displayed again, so we will not go back to caution again. And apparently there's some debris out on the racetrack in turn number 2. And Steve Grissom, as we said, he's going to wake up Monday morning. Look, New Hampshire never happened. They skipped it this year. We're going straight to Rockingham from Charlotte.
Yeah, it may not happen in his own mind, but his crew will remind him as they put a new nose on that car, as they put a new rear clip on that car, and as they say, listen, how about picking up a paintbrush in the Bondo and helping us out here? And that's no problem. He's happy to do it. There are spotters all around the speedway here. They've got them outside all of the turns so that they can see debris in the track, and they have detected some over there in turn 2. That's why we remain under caution here. When we get set to go back to green flag action, we should have approximately 50 laps to go. And You know, Harry Gant up there in the 3rd spot. And, you know, Glenn, I want to remind you that just a few moments ago you said, no, Harry's not going to win this race.
I didn't come out and say Harry was not going to win the race.
Oh, semantics now.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. What I said was, based on the situation on the racetrack at that time, that he couldn't. There were 6 cars ahead of him. Now 3 of those cars are out of the race.
Okay, I'll ask you again. Based on it, look at Ward Burton looking like a super modified car. He's getting ready to go back out. All right, Glenn, I'll ask you again. Based on the current situation, can Harry Gant win this race?
I still don't think that he's got anything for Chuck Bound. Chuck's been strong all day long. Chuck's crew has been around a long, long time, too, and they've made the right calls, the right decisions at the right time. I just don't think that Harry's car is as quick as Chuck's right now. In fact, I don't think that Harry's any quicker than Ricky Craven. Ricky's in 5th spot, a couple positions behind him. Craven has had a chance to work on the stagger on his car. He got it off a little bit. That's why we saw him running back in 10th, 12th position or so. I honestly don't think that Harry Gant's got the car to win the race right now. I said it.
Okay. You haven't brought up Jeff Burton. He's running 2nd. He started 27th. He's been running strong all day. I think this guy's got a shot.
Yeah, my money's on Chuck Bound though right now.
And look at the Chuck Bound crew helping Steve Grissom try to get that car back into action as we go to green flag. Meanwhile, the Nescafe Classic Pontiac driver on the Speedway leads them back into turn 1 with Jeff Burton a close 2nd. Right behind him, Harry Gant in the 3rd spot. Let's see if they can get cleanly through turns 1 and 2 this time, and they seem to have negotiated that without difficulty. And there is a battle for the lead. Jeff Burton, 99, going underneath Chuck Bound, and they almost went 3 wide into turn 3.
Jeff Burton did a nice job getting out of the gas. He would have wrecked 3 cars right there. Somebody had to give. Jeff Burton didn't want to do it, but he did the right thing, did the smart thing.
Oh, yeah, that was just to save his own tail. He didn't want to be in at that time.
There's the Ward Burton car minus most of the front end. Now the car at the lead back in trouble in turn number 2. 2 cars up against the wall.
Kenny Wallace is one of the cars up against the wall. So is Tommy Houston. There is Kenny Wallace. He got tangled up with Peter Daniels, one of the lap cars, a driver out of Lebanon, New Hampshire. And Kenny Wallace is in the wall.
And another car, 22, Jeff Berry. And it is just like it has gone for the last 5 races as we're under our 11th caution of the afternoon. Whoever has been the points leader has had trouble in the subsequent race.
There's still a lot of cars on the lead lap, a lot of cars in this race. It could cost Kenny 100 points. You see up in the left-hand part of the screen, some car got together with Peter Daniels. It was Kenny Wallace. They touched. Wallace's car spins to the right, hits the wall. Daniels and the left side hits the wall. And going out of the screen, Tommy Houston got hit.
And of course, Kenny Wallace came in with a 33-point lead as now smoke is billowing out from under Jamie Obie's Buick, with Bobby Labonte running in the top 10 all day and Kenny Wallace stuffed into the wall. The question is, as we're doing some rough mathematics here, it looks like Bobby Labonte could take the points lead. What we'd like to do is just show you the replay one more time when we get a moment here, because there was a tight pack of cars over there, and one has to wonder, Glenn, Jared, if maybe Kenny Wallace wasn't shoved into the Daniels car. There's the Bobby Labonte machine. He has been able to stay out of trouble pretty much the entire event now. There is, under his own power, that is Kenny Wallace under power, so that is good news for fans of that young driver who hails from St. Louis, Missouri, but there is obviously severe damage to that Pontiac.
There are now 26 cars still on the racetrack, so if Kenny Wallace's team wasn't able to put him back out onto the racetrack.
Well, I'll guarantee you they're going to get him back on the track. If he can drive that car around the track in the condition it's in right now, they'll straighten it up enough to get him back out there, let him run around, make some laps. This is a long racetrack. It takes a lot of time to go. You can see the left front tire not even turning, so they got a problem there. I promise you, though, they'll get that car back out on the racetrack.
Now, Bobby Labonte is currently running 4th. If the deal ended right now and Kenny Wallace was not able to come back out onto the racetrack as he comes onto pit road, minus 45 points would be Kenny Wallace going to Rockingham next week. That's an unofficial quick look at the way the points would be if things ended this way. Here's Wallace coming onto pit road. He will cut in behind pit wall so his crew can put the car up on jack stands and go to work on that Cox dry-treated lumber Pontiac. There's Steve Bird, his crew chief, talking with Kenny now, and he will now start to assess the damage, and they'll jack that car up.
And while they are doing that, Robert Presley dove onto pit road for right-side tires a moment ago. That's an important thing to keep in mind as they attend to the Peter Daniels car that is still up against the wall in turns 1 and 2.
We saw a number of teams, just as Steve Grissom saw on Friday when he wrecked. A number of teams came to the rescue, and we saw as Kenny Wallace's car came into the pits. We see a number of other teams scurrying around to help. There again is Steve Bird, the crew chief for Kenny Wallace's team. And Wallace has jumped out of the car. You see him there with his helmet on, changing the tire on that car, helping to change the tire. He's very much involved.
And also Robert Presley onto pit road, and the hood has gone up on the man who was the dominant entry through the middle laps of this event. That is not a good sign, but it's also the hood is down very quickly. Glenn, any suspicion of what they might have been doing?
There was a little bit of smoke coming from the engine. It looked like it might be a breather or probably a valve gasket or something like that. Didn't look to be too serious.
Let's go down pit side. Kenny Wallace sitting in that car. The gas man was the car standing out beside changing the tire. Let's go down to Bill Hennessy.
Well, Kenny's turning his steering wheel right now. At least Steve Bird is. And Kenny, that's got to be disappointing. What happened going down into turn 1?
Well, trying to keep my cool here. All these wrecks been happening because some of the teams, you know, that ain't got real good cars. They're not looking underneath of them. You get all the way up to the door, and you know, and they come down on you. And I was on the apron. And a guy just kept coming down, and he come down, hit me right front. I tried to get out of it. It was just, it was a situation where for sure you thought he knew you was there. And
I tell you what, you really are maintaining your composure considering how bad things have taken place for you in the last lap.
Well, I hit pretty hard down there, you know. I took a pretty good jolt. I didn't think the car would go, you know. I'm disappointed. I'm mad right now. I'm mad.
He's handling it real well, a lot better than a lot of these drivers. Well, what he's been talking about has been reflected on by numerous other people who've been involved in the crashes earlier.
And here's a replay of the incident one more time. That is Kenny Wallace, center of the screen, hitting the wall. Peter Daniels to the left. And what a horrible feeling that must be for someone who goes, gee, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm in the wall.
Peter Daniels got into this race on a promoter's option. He started 46 out of 46 cars here on this racetrack, so he was well off the competitive speeds coming into this race.
Yeah, Daniels just wasn't watching the mirror that time, guys. He was a lap car. He was up in the outside lane, and Kenny was cleanly under him. He came down across the racetrack right into Kenny's path, and I don't blame Kenny for being mad and upset. He did handle it very well. I'd be throwing stuff right now.
We're on lap 204 of the New England Chevy Dealers 250 here in Loudon, New Hampshire. 46 laps to go. Chuck Barron's the leader, followed by Jeff Burton, Harry Gant, and Bobby Labonte. We'll be right back.
They're already collector's items. Do you have yours? Max Race Cards, featuring all your favorite NASCAR stars, the great moments, the men behind the scenes. Great to collect or trade. 1991 sets are here, and when they're gone, there won't be any more. This handsome 240-card set is only $33. For more details or to order, call 1-800-521-8867. That's 1-800-521-8867. Sets are going fast. Order your Max Race Cards now.
This engine's being slowly destroyed because at startup, oil's in the pan, not in the engine, causing 70 to 80% of mechanical engine wear. Use Slick 50 and you treat the engine, not the oil. It creates a slippery coating that can protect and reduce wear for over 50,000 miles and help improve performance, increase gas mileage, and reduce operating costs. Slick 50 engine treatment, because starting your engine is a terrible thing to do.
20 times last year, the world's best top fuelers fired it up in the final. And all 20 times, the outcome was exactly the same. Every single NHRA winner was powered by the same spark plugs. Autolite, we feel pretty good about that.
It's a car born of intelligent engineering. It's 100,000 ideas fused into one. It's responsive, innovative, refined. It's a driver's side airbag and anti-lock brakes. Introducing the all-new 88 Royale LS. Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering.
When the world of speed trade RPMs for RBIs, the result? A grudge match between the quarter trackers of the NHRA and the oval jockeys of Winston Cup. It's an off-track battle of racing's fastest superstars. A chance to finally settle the score. Who's the best in a benefit softball game? It's the All-Stars of Speed. NASCAR versus NHRA. 3:30 p.m., 2:30 Central Sports Sunday on TNN, the Nashville Network.
We have just gone back to green here at the New Hampshire International Speedway, where Chuck Bound is setting the pace up front with Jeff Burton second, Harry Gant third, Bobby Labonte and Butch Miller your top five. Then it's Ricky Craven, Joe Bessie, Mike Rowe, Kelly Moore, and Dick McCabe. So the entire second board is all Grand National North drivers, but Chuck Bound is setting the pace up front as he's trying to pull away from the Jeff Burton entry, who is about 7 car lengths behind.
Bound got a real good jump on that restart, left Burton and Harry Gant battling with the lap car of Tommy Ellis. That's car 12, and right behind them, Bobby Labonte.
Well, it was up to the leader to restart the race, and Chuck started a little quicker than he had been normally. He foxed him pretty good. The restart was good, but I'm impressed with how well the car is pulling away. Once the race got started, they got up to speed. He continues to pull away.
On the last restart, Bound almost got passed by Jeff Burton, so quite a turn of events. I thought Burton might sneak up there and try to battle him a little bit stronger here on this restart, as we've just got 41 laps to go.
And Harry Gant has moved in right on the rear deck lid of the 99 Jeff Burton car. Folks, just a quick reminder for you that this race is probably going to be running a few minutes long this afternoon, so please stay tuned immediately after our telecast for the NHRA versus NASCAR All-Star softball game. One of the wildest shows you'll ever see as these guys trade their helmets for baseball mitts and prove why they stay professional race car drivers. And that will also be repeated next weekend after the Grand National telecast here on TNN, as now we have a side-by-side battle for the second position. Handsome Harry down low.
We're going to see real quickly, because Gant's going to take that position from Jeff Burton. He does so with relative ease. We're going to see right now if what I said was true a while ago. If he's got anything for Chuck Bound, he's going to have to show it now. There's nobody, I mean nobody on the racetrack in front of Bound. Gant has just cleared that patch of traffic, so right now it's just pure hardcore racing.
See some great racing just behind Harry Gant. Jeff Burton is there working on the lap car of Tommy Ellis. Also there, Bobby Labonte, Ricky Craven, and Butch Miller, the first car on Hoosier Tires, still in this event. So he's running strong, looking for a top 5 position. There's Bobby Labonte going to the inside of Jeff Burton. He is looking to take over the 3rd spot and drive another nail into the coffin today for Kenny Wallace.
You would think that Bobby Labonte would be reasonably content with just assuming a top 5 finish before the end of the race, but he flew by Jeff Burton as if he was standing still. Obviously, Burton drifting up the racetrack is not handling nearly as well as he was through the middle portion of this event. We only have 38 laps remaining this time by in the Chevy Dealers of New England 250 lap race. It's a 264-mile event because this track is just slightly over 1 mile in length. Coming off of turn 2, you can see Bobby Labonte, the 44 car, down at the bottom of the racetrack there.
He just got passed by Ricky Craven. Craven is really flying right now. He's just a few car lengths off of Harry Gant. There's the leader, Chuck Bound, coming down to the stripe. That'll be 37 laps to go. There's Dwayne Castle, the tire changer on Bound's team, looking on anxiously.
And his stopwatch tells us the same thing. His stopwatch tells him the same thing. Our stopwatch is telling us the lead is 2 seconds over second place Harry Gant. But look at that battle for second now. There we come. Kenny Wallace is back on the speedway. That is a beaten and battered car. You can see it's not exactly aimed straight, but it is back out there, Glenn.
Well, yeah, he's just going to go out and make some laps now. He's got the looks like he might have some frame damage. Oh, the rear end's knocked over. That's what it is. He hit the wall with the left side of the rear end, and it knocked it, shoved it over, so it's kind of dog tracking right now.
What he'll do is try to run a lap or 2, and that may gain him another spot or 2 in the valuable 3 to 5 points.
Now there's Kelly Moore, the black 47. Kelly Moore right behind him, Robert Presley. Now Presley on this last caution came onto pit road and took on right side tires, so he obviously should be handling a little bit better. This is a battle for position on the speedway, the battle for 8th.
Kelly Moore's done a great job all day. He was very disappointed about his run here back in July, as Ricky Craven really turning the screws up on Harry Gant.
What we got to watch here now, guys, is Craven is obviously a little faster than Gant. He has caught him. But does he want to take time right now trying to pass him, slowing them both down, and letting leader Chuck Bound continue to pull away? Or are you going to ride behind Gant and hope that Gant can chase him down and then play your card? So a little bit of strategy involved here other than just trying to get around this guy.
It would seem the way Ricky Craven is shot forward after that restart that his car is clearly superior to Gant's.
But catching a guy on the racetrack and passing him are 2 entirely different things. Robert Presley seems to be one of the faster cars on the racetrack right now after that right side tire change. He's got a lot of ground to make up.
And Kelly Moore right there on the outside, battling door to door as they go into turn 1. Moore in a Chevrolet, An Oldsmobile for Presley, as there's a little bit of a smoker behind them, but yellow flag doesn't come out. There is Bobby Labonte again, being followed by Jeff Burton and Butch Miller.
Labonte is currently 4th in the standings. Kenny Wallace is back on the speedway in significantly damaged condition. There he is right there, going very slowly, just exiting the right portion of your screen as the battle for second continues. It appears that Craven, for the moment, is satisfied, as you said, Glenn, to sit back there and see if they can't reel in Chuck Bound here. But the question is the margin closing?
Well, no, I think the margin is pretty well stabilized right now. But if these two guys get into a position where they're battling each other for that second spot, that's the greatest thing Chuck Bound can ask to happen, because that's going to enable him just to pull away.
Steve Grissom getting some camera time and exposure for his sponsor, Channel Lock. That'll be a 15-race deal next year, as Ricky Craven way off the pace coming through turn 3.
He got way up in the marbles, trying to go to the outside of Harry Gant. His car seems to be up to speed. He got into that loose stuff, Glenn, and that's all she wrote.
He just got the turn a little hard there, trying to set up Gant to put a move on him coming off the turn. He got her up out of that groove, got that slick stuff, and buddy, there's no turning. You just simply have to slow it down then.
And it looked like the red 99 of Ward Burton had a thought about going underneath Bobby Labonte, then thought better of it entering turn 1.
Now Jeff Burton has his hands full with Butch Miller in car number 75. They'll tag into turn 3, about 2 car lengths apart.
And Butch Miller is up to 5th on the racetrack, so that's an excellent run. That's the top-running Hoosier tire driver. Also now Joe Nemechek is circulating around the speedway. We've got just 30 laps to go. Now 30 laps, and this is where it starts to get to the long portion of the race for the Nescafe Classic crew.
That's Big Rodney on Chuck Bound's team. You know where the name Big came from.
Yeah, I think it's a very good nickname.
He's the only guy that dwarfs Glenn. I mean,
well,
makes him look small.
Big Rodney realizes there are big problems because Harry Gant has cut that 2-second lead down to 1.5 seconds, so that's why that look of concern was on his face.
I mean, Harry Gant, the guy that doesn't have what it takes to overtake Chuck Bound and win the race?
Yes. You said
that same Harry Gant?
Yeah, he said that with 53 laps to go. I did write that down.
Catching a guy on the racetrack is one thing. Passing a guy is another.
Well, we saw that a moment ago when Ricky Craven tried to get around Harry Gant, so there is some truth to what you say, even if you may be wrong about the eventual race winner. Well, now, there is Kenny Wallace out there. You can see he's significantly off the pace. The 84 is Todd Bodine, not using his usual number because the gentleman who has it, number 34, Glenn Sullivan, qualified ahead of him, and that's part of the rules here in the combination event. If you qualify higher and you have the same number, the guy who qualifies higher gets to keep the car number, and the other driver has to figure out something else to do.
Well, Harry Gant, who simply doesn't have what it takes to go up there and pass Chuck Bound and win the race. Kenny Wallace is in the wall up in turn 3 and 4. It will bring out the caution flag for the 12th time. Wallace's car slid up the racetrack as he was trying to nurse it around for a few laps. So we're back under caution with just 29 laps to go in this race here live from Loudon, New Hampshire. We'll have more live on TNN in just a moment.
Hi there. Hope you're having a beautiful weekend. Join us for our big Columbus Day celebration Monday on Video Morning.
We will be here, and we hope you will, too. We'll have videos from Dolly, Patty Loveless, George Jones, Alan Jackson.
We'll have a gay old time. Will we?
We're going to sing?
We'll enjoy ourselves.
All right.
Well, I'm a honky-tonk man.
Get ready for a honky-tonkin' good time. They're all here, today's hottest country stars in this all-new honky-tonkin' collection. Listen.
I'm a member of the country club.
Travis Tritt. From Randy Travis to George Jones, Ricky Van Shelton to Alabama.
If you're gonna play in Texas, you gotta have a fiddle in the band. Chasing that neon rainbow.
Alan Jackson.
Living that honky-tonk dream.
Patty Loveless. Honky-tonkin', 40 great hits. Available on 3 cassettes, $19.99. 2 CDs, $24.99.
To order, call 1-800-842-4444 or send $19.99 for cassettes or $24.99 for CDs, plus $4 shipping to Honky Tonkin, P.O. Box 10030, Stamford, Connecticut.
Back here at the New Hampshire International Speedway, what appeared to be a fairly harmless incident involving Kenny Wallace's car. We're not going to speculate on anything, but he did emerge from the car with some assistance, did walk away. Here's a look as they're starting to work, and they say, Kenny, do you need help getting out of the car? Now, it's not, that looks pretty serious there, but it's not. You can see Kenny is moving. He is starting to get out of the car, but there is some discomfort, I would think, on his face. I think it was fair for us to say that, and he went immediately to the ambulance.
He is holding his left arm, kind of favoring it, trying to keep the pressure off the left shoulder, so we're not going to speculate, but it looks like he took a shot to that left side. And again, he was nursing the car around after a crash. It wasn't right, but he's just trying to make a few laps to pick up a few more points, and found himself in another problem.
Well, as badly out of alignment as the rear end was on that car, I have a suspicion that it was probably rubbing on something and cut a tire going into that corner. That's obviously the worst place that you can cut a tire down, is at the end of the straightaway going into the turn.
Well, we have a few moments here. Let's remind you of a couple of events that are coming up here on TNN the next couple of weeks. Now, next Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, NASCAR Grand National action from the Rock, Rockingham, North Carolina, the AC Delco 200, 2 p.m. Eastern. Right after that, then, will be the repeat telecast of the NHRA versus NASCAR All-Star softball game. So you got great racing and great softball action. And then Sunday, October 20th, live at noon, right here on TNN, the AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race. Probably one of the most, not probably, it is one of the most grueling races on the entire schedule, where Dale Earnhardt is looking to further solidify his Winston Cup points lead. All of those events, Saturday at 2 p.m., the Grand National race, Sunday at noon, the Winston Cup race, live.
See a good crowd on hand today here at the New Hampshire International Speedway. If you see some empty seats from time to time in the grandstands, the fact of the matter is they've got a lot of seats, so you can have a great crowd here and still see a few empty seats at this racetrack. They built it to host, again in 1992, an IndyCar race, and hopefully someday a Winston Cup event.
Well, the Winston Cup drivers whom we've talked to in the garage make no bones about it. They think this is an excellent facility, and they would like to come here. Now, that is obviously not the driver's call to make. There are a number of scheduling factors which come into account, and many elements that NASCAR down at Daytona Beach would have to consider before awarding any new racetrack a Winston Cup date. But everyone that we have talked to from any series, whether it's motorcycle racing or road racing or stock car racing, has been most impressed with this incredible facility up here in Loudon, New Hampshire.
There's Dean Ferry, the Canadian driver on pit road. One of the main reasons why the drivers like to come here, it's a beautiful racetrack, a great garage, a great track, a physical plant, the great wide pit road. But Bob and Gary Baird just treat everybody so well. They roll out the red carpet, they come here, they have a great time, and they really have no troubles. They just have some fun and race.
And I like to come up here, too, because lobster's $3.99 a pound at McDonald's.
Of course, we see a lot of folks bundled up. It is getting a little bit cooler here. We started out a little over 50 degrees, and it has been a lot of sunshine today, but it has been a typical fall day in New England, as we see Kenny Wallace's crippled car being towed back to the garage area. And that's a sight that Kenny Wallace fans did not want to see today. And he was running so strong until he got messed up with that lap car.
Kenny Wallace has had a long day. We've seen several times that he's been in the middle of other incidents and has managed to get through unscathed, but it's one of those situations where you apparently can only dodge the bullet so long when you're stuck in race traffic, which Glenn points out further why sometimes it really is important to run as hard as you can so you're ahead of things like that can happen.
Oh, definitely. You don't want to stroke the car to the point that it keeps you back and mired in the middle of the pack. If your car's capable of getting around those other cars without taking too much of a chance, you want to go on and do it, because obviously the clearer racetrack you can run on, the less chance of something happening.
That caution flag, a big break for Harry Gant. He closes up behind Chuck Bound. Also, Ricky Craven, who had fallen back quite a ways, he gets a second life.
Well, I was just about to say, Mark, it's a break for, it could also be a break for Chuck Bound, too, in the sense that they've run up a lot of these laps under caution where nobody can pass him. Again, I made the statement 2 or 3 times about catching somebody's one thing, passing is another. They've got less time in which to pass Harry Gant. Now Harry Gant has to contend with Ricky Craven on his back bumper again. That's when Chuck Bound was able to pull away.
And right behind Ricky Craven is Bobby Labonte and Jeff Burton in the 99 car behind him, then Butch Miller. So we have a number of cars that have shown strength at certain portions throughout the race, who are very much in contention.
As you well know, Glenn, the etiquette also changes in the closing laps. Chuck Bound may have given way to somebody a lot easier early on than he's about to maybe at the end of this race.
Well, at this point, nobody's going to give way to anything now. We're getting ready to go for a restart. One thing that's happened, Harry Gant has been awfully slow on the takeoffs. Let's see if that happens again.
And the green flag is back out. Chuck Bound leads the field back into turn number 1. 22 laps remaining here in New Hampshire. Can Harry Gant catch him? Let's keep an eye on that as they come back up to speed, moving through turns 1 and 2. Apparently the driver that lost the most is the 25 car at the right of the screen of Ricky Craven, who is stuck behind a lapped car. Chuck Bound now moving down into turn 3 as the laps wind down. Harry Gant maintaining a 2-car length deficit, but then further back and caught is Ricky Craven, our pole sitter, who led so many of the early laps. He's got to work his way around to reel in those front 2 cars.
Now, Ron Lamell in car 98 is the car that's holding Craven up right now. Watch Harry Gant right in the center of the turn. He's a little bit quicker than Chuck Bound, but as they accelerate, Chuck pulls away just ever so gradually. So pretty even match right there. There's not going to be very much difference in these cars, but I still think Chuck can hold on.
Chuck Bound is looking for his 4th win of the year. That would equal Harry Gant for 4 wins, for most wins on the 1991 Busch Grand National Series. There's Ricky Craven, the 3rd car on your screen, making up ground in a big hurry.
It's kind of funny. It took Gant 4 races. It took Chuck all season to win 4.
When you're hot, you're hot. Gant going for a record-tying 4th straight Grand National win. But as we saw before in the previous restart, once Ricky Craven got clear of lap traffic, he was able to reel back in the front cars, and he's done exactly that again, Glenn.
With the 3 cars in the frame, watch as they go into the turn. Craven's car seems to push a little bit getting into the turn. He doesn't want to stay right down on the bottom of the racetrack the way he wants to. See it move up ever so slightly.
And that will make it difficult for him to pass on the inside, which has been the preferred way to pass all day.
Absolutely. Of course, it could be that the times that I was watching, he was just getting in the corner a little hot trying to catch him. So all 3 of those cars pretty evenly matched right now.
Chuck Bound, who had a runner-up finish here back in July and made a serious deficit, a 1-lap penalty for passing the pace car, is setting the pace here this afternoon as Craven once again is moving right back in as we're looking back a little bit further in the pack. That battle for second is really heating up in the speedway as we're now closing to 18 laps to go. There's Craven to the high side of Gant.
Down to the stripe, there will be 18 laps to go. Chuck Bound trying to hang on for dear life with the veteran Harry Gant trying to hold on, and then the young lion Ricky Craven trying to cap off what has been a marvelous 1991 season. If he wins today, that will mean 10 wins in 21 starts. That's just incredible.
Well, it is a phenomenal record, but right now he's only worried about this one more victory he's chasing right now. And he knows that he's got the hottest guy in NASCAR, hottest guy in all of racing in the world right now in front of him. And he's going to try to take him on the outside.
And they have really closed the field again. Now, look, and you're right. Craven is going up high and around the track, and he really can't seem to get any advantage overall of Harry Gant. And Glenn, you say his car really isn't handling that well.
Well, it looks like when they come off the turns there, particularly off of turn 4 there, Harry's car might have been pushing just a little. Ricky had moved up in the outside lane trying to take him over. Harry's car pushed out the outside. He had to get out of Gant.
Best thing for Chuck Bound right now is Harry Gant. Doesn't believe Gant can get up there at this point to catch him, but Gant's doing a good job holding back Ricky Craven, so sort of as the blocking back right now for Chuck Bound.
Well, you know, when you got 2 cars battling for first and second, it's one thing. When there's 3 cars like this, and you're the car in the middle like Harry Gant is, you're intent on trying to pass and catch and pass that guy in first, but you also don't want to give up anything, take a chance it's going to cost you second place.
And we have a report that unofficially, if the race ends as it is now, Kenny Wallace would finish 25th, and that would do some serious damages. Yes, it's time to cross fingers and toes as Robert Presley is moving up smartly through the pack. And back up front, there is an excellent battle in Speedway. Side-by-side action all around the track. That is the battle for 5th. But a backup among the leaders as we're closing in with just 16 laps remaining. Ricky Craven has finally worked his way around Harry Gant and is into the 2nd spot. And now the question is, he appears to have been the fastest car in the Speedway for the last 15 laps or so. What does he have left to chase down Chuck Bound?
I think he's got plenty.
I think he does too, based on how easily he is moving away from Gant once he got around him. In fact, he has already closed right on the rear decklet of our race leader.
This should get really interesting. Chuck Bound would like to go out with a victory today and make up for some of the frustration back in July. Ricky Craven looking to cap off a marvelous season. I tell you what, Chuck Bound is going to be a handful to get by right now. He will not give it up without going down to his last bullet.
Well, there's 14 laps and 14 miles that Chuck's got to hold Craven off. And Craven is definitely a little bit quicker right now. But again, I hate to overuse this phrase, but you know, you can catch a guy because you can run the groove you want to, but passing him, that guy might be running the same groove you're running, and so therefore it's a little more difficult for you to pass, particularly if your car doesn't work as well in one of those other grooves.
And they're all on at least 75 to 100 laps in these tires, so that's making their job even that much more difficult. Chuck Bound is maintaining a 2-car length margin as we're closing in now on just 13 laps remaining. 13 laps this last time by.
13 miles is just about the distance separating Louden, New Hampshire, this racetrack here in Ricky Craven's hometown in Concord, New Hampshire. I tell you what, he'd like to make this trip again and again if he can somehow make his way to victory lane. Not very far to go here. And Craven now takes a peek to the outside.
And Harry Gant has not given up the ghost either on this event because he has closed right back up there too. But Glenn, you've watched them now the last couple of times by. Where is Chuck stronger? Where is Ricky stronger?
Well, right now Chuck is a little stronger. Coming off the corner, his car gets a pretty good bite. You see Craven up on the outside. See Chuck pull away right there. That's where his strength is. That's where you got to pass the guys coming off the turn. As long as he's that strong right there, they're not going to be able to do anything with him. You can run up on him and run by him in the middle of the corner all you want to, but until you pass that guy coming off the turn forward, take that lead, he's going to beat you. Let's see if he can do it now on the outside.
Ricky Craven goes to the outside of Chuck Bound and back at the stripe. He's got him by maybe a bumper length, if that much. Can he make it stick going into the first turn? Because Bound is staying right there at the bottom of the racetrack.
Kind of surprised me that Chuck didn't go in the corner a little bit higher to move Ricky up out of that groove. Ricky's got him passed right now, so obviously Craven's car is extremely strong, making that pass on the outside. He was able to do what nobody else has been able to do here today, and that's pass the leader on the outside.
That is a remarkable performance by Ricky Craven, going for win number 10 this season.
And he immediately starts to pull away, really putting some distance now between himself and Chuck Bound, although Bound closes back up again.
And we have got 10 laps to go. This last time by us now. Craven drifts up the racetrack, and Bound is able to go back underneath.
Well, Chuck did something different that time. He turned the car down a little lower and accelerated a little quicker coming off the turn. The inside part of the racetrack, obviously the quickest way around. Chuck was able to get a bite down there and made up a couple car lengths on Ricky in no time at all. This thing's not over yet.
Not by any means. 9 laps to go this time by Ricky Craven. A 2-car length advantage over Chuck Bound. And right behind him is Harry Gant. Bobby Labonte sitting back there in the 4th position. If you're just joining us expecting a softball game, the NHRA versus NASCAR All-Stars, it'll come up immediately after this. You're wondering where Kenny Wallace is. He has crashed several times. He is in the garage for the day, unofficially at the 25th place finish. Bobby Labonte is sitting in 4th, so it looks like the Grand National points lead will change again. But the battle for the lead up front is the one we have been watching throughout much of the race. That is Dick McCabe in the 0 car, Dick McCabe in the O car. On the high side of him is Kelly Moore. These are 2 of the Grand National North drivers who have been putting on such a good show. A number of them are in the top 10 this afternoon. Dick McCabe, the position he's in right now, has a good chance of winning the $10,000 bonus that goes to the Grand National North driver who accumulates the most points over the 4 races that they have run here this year as they go side by side there. This time by, we have 8 laps to go. 8 laps up front among the leaders as Ricky Craven continues to set the pace.
Craven right now running the car just hard enough to stay ahead of Chuck Bound. He's not pushing it anymore. And another guy, you see Craven there at 25. The red car is Chuck Bound at 63. Then the green car here again. The car running 4th there with the red car with the yellow bumper, that's Bobby Labonte. He's a guy right now that's enjoying this whole thing. He's getting to see a great race. He knows that if nothing happens, he's got a 4th place finish. He's going to come out of here with the points lead.
Unofficially, he should come out of here with a point lead of 39 points. He came in down 33, up 39.
Last year in this race, Ricky Craven said, I needed to learn more about tire stagger to be up front near the end of the event. And Glenn, it certainly looks like he has learned an awful lot here this afternoon.
Well, I'm sure if Ricky Craven goes on to win, Mark, and he elects an MVP on his team, it's going to be his tire man today because, as we said earlier, he expressed that concern. The guy has done a terrific job. They only got off 1 time, but he still never fell back worse than 10th position.
He's also running a much different groove in the turns than a lot of the cars. He's going in there, staying fairly high, at least turns 1 and 2. We see in turn 3, gets down there kind of low and keeps the car tucked low. But as we look at his car, when he goes back into turn 1 this next time by, Chuck Bound 4 car lengths back with 5 laps to go as they cross the stripe. Look at the line that Ricky Craven uses going into that turn.
You know, watch Craven, he swings the car out real wide. He doesn't pin it down right to the bottom of the track like Chuck Bound does. That keeps the RPMs on the car up just a little bit, enables him to accelerate off the corner with a little more ease. When you turn the car down low like Chuck does, you got to slow it down a little more, then really stand on the throttle to pull up the speed down the backstretch.
And Ricky Craven has no lap traffic in front of him that he will have to negotiate over the next couple of laps here, and that is a significant factor in this event as he is starting to ever so slightly inch away from Chuck Bound, who has done essentially everything he could do to maintain the point, but raced him clean, and that's an important factor here because Chuck Bound has always been considered to be one of the classier drivers in the series.
The northern drivers are tired of seeing Ricky Craven this year because he's won so many events up here. The southern drivers aren't going to be too keen on him either. Remember, they went to Oxford, Maine back in the middle of the summer to take on the northern guys. Ricky Craven took the win there and a payday of better than $55,000. He comes back today, and it looks like perhaps he's got this one in his back pocket as well. So 2 out of the 3 times they've run up north here, he's come away the winner.
Well, and the bad thing for the southern guys is they're going to see that 25 car one more time because he's going to Martinsville to run in the season's finale also. So they're not through seeing Ricky Craven's back bumper yet either.
And Craven claims that this car here today isn't his best car, which he's got ready to go to Martinsville.
That's great news.
That's a battle for 5th in the Speedway. Butch Miller in the 75, Robert Presley in the 59, and Presley with a little fresher tires is able to take that position. But we are now looking at 3 laps to go. 3 laps to go. That's the 99 of Jeff Burton. As you can see, he's starting to come in now on some lapped cars, but they don't appear to be a problem. 2 laps to go. The 1991 Grand National North champion appears headed to his second victory in a combination event for this season with the Grand National Southern drivers. Whatever that radical suspension that they have in the front of that car, it sure seems to work and play. You hit that right in the head in our pre-race show.
Well, it looks strange, and I did a double take at it, but he told me that it made the car feel better late in the race, and that's when he's come back strong.
And as we come to the white flag lap, a battle for second has developed as now Harry Gant is closed right up on Chuck Bound's rear decklet. Harry won't win that 4th straight race, but he hasn't given up second yet. White flag this time by for Ricky Craven heading up into turn 1.
And also back in the back, 99 Jeff Burton has just taken over 5th position from Butch Miller, but Butch says, whoa, wait a minute, that's not all of it. I'm going to get back up here and challenge for that position. Last lap shootout.
That's the difference between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is now Harry Gant is trying to go to the high side of Chuck Bound, but Ricky Craven could care less. He comes off of turn 4 the last time. Ricky Craven wins for the 10th time in 1991, a dominating performance in the final laps this afternoon.
Look at that great battle. Boy, Butch Miller just barely noses out 99 Jeff Burton, and they touch after the race is over. There'll be some words in the pits after that.
Ricky Craven has won his 10th race of 1991, and this is a driver who will go to Rockingham next week and make his Winston Cup debut, also live on TNN. And what a popular victory. Ricky from nearby Concord, New Hampshire, about 13 miles down the road. There he is accepting the congratulations of the rather large crowd here today at the New Hampshire International Speedway. A big victory for Ricky Craven in that speedy oil change and tune-up Chevrolet.
Craven took the lead with 11 laps to go despite Chuck Bound's best efforts and essentially pulled away, showing that he had what it took late in the event. Harry Gant was not able to overtake Chuck Bound for second, so your top 3 are, of course, Ricky Craven, your winner for the 10th time this season, Chuck Bound second, Harry Gant 3rd, Bobby Labonte in the 4th spot.
Great run for Bobby Labonte. Started way back in 31st position, brought her home in 4th spot. He's going to go out of here with that points lead. So all in all, a great day for Ricky Craven and for Bobby Labonte as well.
I'm sure a lot of our fans may have heard about Ricky Craven's exploits this year on the NASCAR North Series, but maybe didn't take him quite as serious because he wasn't battling the southern guys all the time. Well, when he's gone head-to-head with them 3 times this year, he has come out the winner twice. So this obviously is a very hungry, up-and-coming driver. Ricky Craven, 25 years old, seems to have his future all ahead of him.
Yep, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this sport for a long time to come. And I do want it noted for the record that, like you said, that Chuck Bound was able to hold off Harry Gant. It was just for second place, not for first.
Well, the last piece of real estate, the last minefield that Ricky Craven had to negotiate was the cars pulling into the garage. He successfully does that, and he's heading toward victory lane.
Of course, he took 1 extra lap around, sort of savoring this victory, his one that climaxes his 1991 championship season here in the North. There he is pulling into victory lane for the Chevy dealers of New England 250.
And he gets to Winston Cup ride next weekend at Rockingham in Dick Moroso's car, so he comes down south. We don't expect him to do quite as well in that series because there are fellows like Earnhardt there in Rudd and Gant, a few folks like that who really expect to pose a problem for any newcomer, but certainly Ricky Craven has demonstrated the kind of performance this season that makes him a coming star in NASCAR stock car racing.
They tested there Wednesday at the Rock, and Craven had a very good, strong test. They're very optimistic that they can perhaps go down there realistically top 20, qualifying in a top 20 finish. Let's go down to Bill Hennessy. He's in victory lane with our winner, Ricky Craven.
Congratulations. You sure gave us an exciting, thrilling show here on TNN.
Boy, it wasn't without a little crash and bang. You know, I mean, this was the toughest race I've ever run, I think. And to be able to beat Chuck Bound and Harry Gant, boy, it's a tribute to the whole team, the Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up Chevrolet racing team. We've done a lot of work this year. We've done a lot of wonderful things, and I hope this quiets down my critics because the proof's in the pudding, and we showed them today.
It sure seems that way. Having won the Busch Grand National North Championship, culminating the season with a win here before the hometown folks in nearby Concord, the final question is, who were the guys that helped get this car into victory lane, and how important was the tire guy?
I got to tell you what, the tires were the biggest story of the day. We came in and got rights and got rights and got rights, and we knew at some point we had to get lefts. The car wasn't going away. It was as quick on, every time we changed right side tires, it would be as quick as the beginning of the race. So I knew that we had very little wear on the left sides, but we came in and got our left sides on 175, came back in after we got in side of Tommy Pett, and with the right sides and the left sides being fresh, the car was hooked up. It's the best it's been all day.
Congratulations, Ricky Craven, on winning the New England Chevy Dealers 250 at New Hampshire International Speedway. There's more to come in moments.
I guess I like things that go fast.
Experience life on the NASCAR circuit as you've never seen before. Call now and order Bill Elliott Racing to Victory and see what life is like for Bill Elliott in and out of Victory Lane. Meet the men responsible for the high technology and the marketing of the man known as $1 Million Bill.
It's $1 Million Bill from Dawsonville. Look out, the bird is on the loose again. He's got one thing on his mind, driving Coors number 9 down to Victory Lane at the end. Yes, it's $1 Million Bill from Dawsonville. Look out, the bird is on the loose again. And he's got one thing on his mind, driving Coors number
Order
9.
Bill Elliott Racing to Victory. Don't wait, call now.
To order, call now 1-800-524-4000. That's 1-800-524-4000.
Don't you want some of this stuff?
JJ, now that you've won it all, how are you going hardship?
My man JJ McCormick's not only going hardship, I'm going lottery.
A lot of people will tell you that cocaine not only will get you high, but will take your performance to a different level. But in this game, the higher you go, the closer you get to the bottom.
I'm JJ, man.
Juking, jamming, popping, rocking, Austin Travis. Every game's a battle of days.
What the hell's going on?
One game is in your face, the next thing isn't even in the game.
Hey, JJ! Stop, JJ!
You guys seen JJ?
Police announced that they'd arrested J.J. McCormick.
Back at New Hampshire International Speedway, where Ricky Craven has won for the 10th time this season, when he said, silence his critics. The only thing I can think the critics were saying is that he's been winning too much. Let's go back down to victory lane for the Miller Genuine Draft Pit Crew of the Race Award and Bill Hennessy.
Well, here's the gentleman that has won it. That's Nicky Claremont, the crew chief on the number 25 Speedy Oil Change Special. You did a great job, you and your team, in bringing this car into victory lane here.
Well, it was a team effort. All of the guys really pitched in today and did their job perfectly. And if it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't be where we are to this date.
What's the guy's name that did the tire stagger on the car and kept you guys running?
Billy Fay, and he did an unbelievable job today. Unbelievable.
Well, on behalf of Miller Genuine Draft, the Nashville Network family, we'd like to present this Pit Crew Award to you for the fine effort that y'all put forth, and congratulations on your victory here.
Thank you very much. And this says exactly what it is. It's a crew award, because all these guys are great.
That's a very young crew for Ricky Craven, a young driver with a young crew, and I tell you what, they've been putting it to the veterans all year long. 21 starts, 10 victories. You just can't do much better than that.
No, you don't. You know, that comment he made about hope this would silence his critics, I think what he's referring to is people are saying that, well, he's been running the North Tour. It's not as competitive as it is down south. Well, the South brought their big guns up here today, and they couldn't hit Ricky Craven. That front machine gun switch that he had on that car paid off.
He shot him down in good shape, didn't he?
You know, and he clearly indicates that part of the reason that he has run so successfully is because of his sponsorship, because it provided the foundation dollars for them last season to go out and put this program together. It was a learning process for Ricky. Although he won races, he picked up 2 victories in 1990. He picked up a number of poles. It was a learning year for him. He proved that he was going to be a coming star. As we look at the top 5, Ricky Craven, of course, the winner. Chuck Bound second. Harry Gant third. Bobby Labonte fourth. That has significant ramifications to the Grand National standings. And Robert Presley fifth. He had dominated some of the middle laps. Sixth, Butch Miller. Seventh to Ward Burton. Jamie Obey, Kelly Moore, and Dick McCabe. Grand National North drivers who had good finishes today. We'll be back with more post-race activities here from Loudon, New Hampshire, where Ricky Craven has certainly silenced any critics about his driving today with another victory. Stay with us. We've got more coming.
In America, your car is not just something you own. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Texaco has developed Haviland Formula 3 motor oil. With not one, but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. Haviland Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
Before this, you never heard of cold filtered. Before this, you never heard of genuine draft taste in a bottle. Now hear this. Get out of the old, get into the cold.
Cold filter taste what it's all about. Never heat pasteurized, so the rich, smooth taste don't cook out. For those who discover its real draft taste, the world can be a very cool place.
Get out of the old, get into the cold. Miller Genuine Draft.
It's your boss on the phone. He says, do you still work here or not?
I called the airline like you said, and sure, there's a later flight. Tomorrow.
When you just can't wait to get started, start with a Champion. Pound for pound, the most powerful automotive battery you can buy. Get your Champion now by calling 1-800-289-4627 for a dealer near you.
In our continuing search for the best of everything, our special segment today applies to all motorists. Straining to see through a rain-soaked windshield is no fun and can be unsafe, but there is a solution. It's called Rain-X, the invisible windshield wiper. It dramatically improves wet weather visibility. After my first application, I was a true believer. Water never slid off a duck's back quite so easily. If you want true performance from a product, go out and get your Rain-X today.
Available at Kmart.
Well, the leaves are at their peak here in New Hampshire, and Ricky Craven was certainly at his peak this afternoon, picking up the victory in Loudon, New Hampshire. This was a race that was slowed 12 times for caution, 2 of those involving Kenny Wallace, who finished 26, and that really jumbles up the points.
It certainly does, and it looks like Kenny also might have bumped up his shoulder just a bit, and we'll try to get more word on that before we close out things. But heading for Rockingham and Martinsville, 2 races to go in the Busch Grand National Series season. Bobby Labonte, in that little slap fight we talked about for the championship, came in minus 33. He now comes out plus 42.
Well, that's a pretty big turnaround, particularly one day. I didn't expect to see this in today's race because they were so even. Stay so close together on the racetrack throughout the race, and Kenny had that terrible luck, and we certainly pass along our condolences to him and his crew for the bad luck they had today, and hope that he's okay. I know he'll be back at Rockingham trying to overtake Bobby.
Wallace's problems today, typical of what happens to a point leader late in the season. They weren't of his doing. He was an innocent bystander, got collected and mugged down there in turn 2, and that was the root cause of all the rest of his problems.
Well, it's really frustrating when you drive the kind of race he did all day and do the right kind of things, keep the car in position for a good, solid finish, and then something of your own, or not of your own makings, puts you out like that. So very frustrating day, and it's going to be a long week for him.
And before anyone cedes the championship to Bobby Labonte, we should remind you that this is the 5th straight race in which the points lead has changed hands. So they go to Rockingham next week, where there will be a full field of at least 40 cars, possibly 42. So it could change back there. For Glenn Jarrett, Bill Hennessy, and Mark Arrow, this is Mark Allen wrapping up activities here from the New Hampshire International Speedway, where Ricky Craven is your winner. We'll see you.
Today's coverage of the Chevy Dealers of New England 250 has been brought to you by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. By Eagle One Car Care Products. Eagle One is visual perfection. And by Champion Batteries, when you can't wait to get started. TNN Pit Reporters, fire retardant clothing provided by Leaf Safety Equipment, Conway, South Carolina, and London, Ontario, Canada. Suit graphics courtesy of JB Lettering, Binghamton, New York.